Not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychics. I go there when I want to get my kicked. So let's say I'll say one of the first challenges I see with the business owners I work with, I don't really love working with those kind of clients. There are some very unsexy things you have to do to grow your business.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? We're here with Einar Escoto, who is a hypnotherapist, business coach, Reiki master?
Reiki practitioner.
Reiki practitioner.
In mastership.
Oh, in mastership.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And what else am I missing?
I don't know. Just all around swell guy.
All around swell dude over here. Basically, we're doing this interview because I've been working with you for 2-3 months?
Yeah.
Has it been 2 months? And Einar has a lot of insights and a lot of knowledge, a well of knowledge for everyone that I think everyone could benefit and learn from. And so we're going to use this interview to get to know Einar a little bit better and kind of just see how he can potentially help anybody and everybody. And if not, just like through this video, just adds a lot of value in people's lives. Because I know for me, I'm giving a testimonial right now. He kind of guided me and showed me kind of some of the things that I was missing and then how to improve my own business in the way of, especially mentally, because I think a lot of us, we go through a lot of obstacles and blockers in our life, and we don't realize it's actually blocking us. But the moment I started talking to Einar, it's just been so helpful. So that's what we're using this interview for. So Einar, just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I'm Einar, and like you mentioned, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. My training actually first started in psychic mediumship. So I was doing psychic readings for people and tarot readings, and then it evolved into intuitive coaching. I decided to become a clinical hypnotherapist, and also just became a Reiki practitioner, and I'm in mastership right now. And then early next year, I'll be doing training for Akashic Records reading as well. But as I started working with clients, I just started realizing that I have a lot of training, especially when I worked directly for Tony Robbins for nearly 3 years, just being immersed in the coaching environment and content surrounding business and mindset as well, that it was still stored subconsciously in my mind. So my business just sort of evolved into coaching, and it's been really great. I took a lot of pride in the fact that I was kind of a one-stop shop, but right now in my business, I'm really honing in and dialing in on what is my service offering and who's the target market that I'm moving towards right now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, in general, it's been a lot of business owners and new business owners that I've been working with.
Mm-hmm. Do you think so what inspired you actually to get you into it? And working for Tony Robbins, all of these things kind of led you down the path, but like, what made you definitively be like, hey, I actually like this? What brought you into it?
I think this might resonate with a lot of people, but I just was always helping people, right? I feel like a lot of people were coming to me for free advice and free therapy at like a very, very young age. I mean, I remember being like 16 and like 28-year-olds calling me every single day, needing advice. So
wait, you were 16 and they were 20 and they were calling you for advice?
Older, like almost in their 30s.
Oh my God.
And on my phone, like every single day. And when you're that young, no one's really telling you that you can make a career out of helping people.
Right.
And so it took a while. It took a lot of my own, therapy and mindset coaching to realize like I can make a living out of this by helping people, and that I don't have to have any guilt around making money for helping people, and it doesn't have to be free. So it was a lot of mindset. You talked a little bit about that for the business, right? Like when you are so focused on helping people and moving towards this goal where you're being of service to others, then you sort of have to work through what your relationship with money is like, right? And the value and your worth of it. So I think it accidentally just fell on my lap, and I honestly just spent every day asking myself, like, what do you want to do and what's fun, honestly? What is most fun is probably my first question every single day.
Okay.
And it is. I do have a lot of fun working with business owners.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that what you kind of tell people? Let's say if someone comes to you and they don't know what they want to do, but they're tired of their job or whatnot, but they know you've talked to people, you've helped people out. And is that the first question you tell them to ask themselves?
Yeah. I'm going to first ask them, what do you like to do? Because if you don't like what you're going to doing, it's going to feel like work.
Yeah.
And we do not want it to feel like work. Obviously, as business owners, and I know you know this because of the coaching that we do, that when you put that business owner cap on, there are some very unsexy things you have to do to grow your business.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Like right now I'm churning out like 12 13-hour days every single day to grow Mindsei. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask, okay, like you don't want to be in the corporate world anymore. You want to start a business. You want to start making money based on your life purpose and something that you love. Well, have you figured out your life purpose yet?
Right.
If not, let's do some work to figure out what that is. Let's get you aligned.
Yeah.
Because anyone's business, no matter where they are in the life cycle of their business, is a mirror of where they currently are at in their life.
Say it again.
So let's say that you're a business owner and you've had your business for a while and maybe you're plateauing a little bit. You're not really having a lot of growth. The first thing I would do is probably ask what's going on with you. Because if you are the business owner or you're leading that team, the reflection of that performance is a reflection of what's going on internally.
Wow.
So the leadership is really important and making sure that people are staying on top of their training and their leadership and holding themselves accountable to that is important to the growth of the business.
Right.
So whenever I'm working with business owners and there's a complaint about their business or they're like, hey, even when we were talking, like, hey, I'm feeling stuck, or what do I do next? Our conversation started with, well, what do you want to do? What do you like to do? When do you start feeling energized? And we capitalized on those moments that you felt more energized, right?
Because if you look at it, right, if you don't like doing something in the first place, but you're trying to make a business out of it, that's not going to do anything because you're just going to end up hating it at the end of the day, right? So
might as well stay in corporate America.
Right, exactly. Do something for somebody else that you hate doing. At least you'll get a paycheck.
Yes.
You know, to build it from scratch.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense because you brought up life purpose, and I think that's because I think a lot of business owners do what they do because they feel a calling, right? It's like they feel like, okay, like you, right? You started helping people with their mindset, all of these things, and other business owners realize, okay, I actually like doing this. This is something I enjoy doing, so let me try to make a business out of helping people. One of the other things you brought up too was getting over the mindset of charging people, actually asking for money in return for your services, right? Like, how do you think people can even just get over that?
Yeah, so I think that first starts with asking yourself, like, what do I think I'm even worth, and what is my time worth? I remember early on in our coaching, I was like, I want you to tell me what you do in one day, right? And you told me task by task by task. And we did the math, and I think after we calculated it, I was like, bro, you're making like $30 an hour or something, right?
I feel like it was $5 an hour.
Right, but I was like, how does that feel when I tell you that right now with the way you're spending your time, you're getting paid $30 an hour? And you were like, it does not feel good. So we were like, let's change it then, right? So it starts even with simple metrics like that.
Right.
Every time you are thinking about your business, every time you're doing anything for your business, that is time that is taking you away from your family, from your friends, from the things like the hobbies that you like to do outside of growing your business, right? So we break it down that way very simply. We found out, okay, you're making $30 an hour and we want to change that. So let's figure out how much you do want to be making an hour. Now let's look at your products and services. How can we expand it? What stuff are you giving away for free because you don't realize that you can make that into a product or service?
Right.
And I think that's what we did when we were talking, right? Like you then created new services because you're like, oh, I was just naturally doing it for free.
Yeah, because you don't realize it sometimes because you're here to help people, right? That's always the first thing you do.
Right.
And what's the first thing you do? Like, how else can I help you? Okay, I can do this. But if I pull out my camera for me, right? If I pull out my camera, if I'm recording something for you, that's when I charge you.
Yeah.
But if we're having a conversation, we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
You know? So that was one big mindset that you have to overcome, especially with money, because money is such a big thing.
It is. It's such a big thing, and it's a complicated, it can be a complicated relationship. And it doesn't just mean, having a scarcity mindset where you are trying to have more money or make more money. Some people make a lot of money really, really fast, and then they lose it really, really, really fast. Or people have a lot of money, they're millionaires, they're billionaires, but maybe they're still holding on to the money really tight and they feel like they can't spend it for things that make them happy because of X, Y, or Z reason. So it doesn't matter really how much money you have, but the relationship with money, right, is something that we look at too in our coaching for business owners.
Okay. So what are some of the problems you see with a lot of businesses? Because you've done a lot of work with business owners and all that stuff. What are I would say maybe top 3 problems you feel like a lot of them experience at first? And how do you help them get through each of the obstacles?
Yeah. I do a lot of energy work and hypnotherapy. So I love working with business owners who they don't have to necessarily be spiritual, but open, right? Like open-minded to the work. So a lot of it is actually not just us talking about what is your business model? and what can we do to scale, I'm working individually with the person. Because again, I said that the business is a mirror, right? So if someone is having challenges, so let's say I'll say one of the first challenges I see with the business owners I work with is scaling, right? So like they're hitting a plateau and they're like, we need to make more money, or I need to make more money. And what do we do about that? And the first thing, and there are a lot of great coaches out there who are not me, who are experts on how objectively you can grow and scale your business. That's not who I am. I am in the business of how can I grow and scale you spiritually as a person and your personal development, right? And so what I'm going to do is ask more about you. Well, like, I want a little bit more information about what has the timeline looked like. When were you really peaking for the revenue, and what was going on in your life? And I'm looking for patterns as I'm talking to people.
Gotcha.
And I'm looking for the blocks. So we're going to probably do some muscle testing. I'm going to see if there's some psychoenergetic reversals there that's preventing. And if it's rooted in a memory or something that needs to be cleared, then we eliminate the blocker and we move forward. But definitely the scaling, or if you are someone like you who is client-based, has a client-based business, right? Maybe they're having trouble getting more leads. And that's when we're thinking about like, okay, what else can you offer? Tell me what you are doing. And now let's capitalize on that and make it into a service.
Right.
I would say the other one is that they're losing steam or passion for what they're doing. So they started off really excited about it because they were really passionate, but then because it started feeling like work, the passion for it or the purpose of the business is kind of waning.
Gotcha.
And it's demonstrating itself through the way the company is performing, right? And that is a really, I think, kind of uncomfortable place to be in, because you know that you're still grounded in the values of the business and why you started it. But because it started to feel like work, you're not as excited. Honestly, when it starts to feel like a lot of work, it's because there's something there to teach you about your own leadership and another way for you to grow and evolve to make it exciting again. It just means that you started doing the things that don't feel fun anymore, even if it is connected to a goal or mission that is higher than you or serves a higher purpose.
Right.
So it's a scalability, being able to get those clients. It's the losing their passion. And then I think I work with a lot of people who have so many great ideas. So it's also about the analysis paralysis and like, where do I go?
Right.
When you and I started coaching, we had so many options of where you can go. And I told you, I'm like, here are like 4 pathways.
Which one do you want?
Yeah, choose your own adventure. Tell me where we're going and I will be right there with you along the way. Right. So sometimes it can get really overwhelming, and why it's important for business owners to have other coaches, or even if you're not a business owner and you're just looking for personal development, it's important to have a coach or a therapist or whatever you want to call them to make sure that you are being held accountable, but can also be there as a sounding board for what you want to do.
Right. See, I've done it before, right? I've hired coaches to help me. I've hired therapists, just different things coming by to kind of guide me in that path, because you only know what you know. Right. So if you don't know, like you're saying, scalability, right? Like if your mindset isn't there to scale and you don't think you can, or, like that's a blocker.
Yeah.
And so when you come in, you open my eyes at least to think, okay, but you need to switch this, you need to change this part about it. So maybe this could help you out. It's all suggestions, right? It's never one finite thing you have to do.
Right.
It's always suggestions that maybe take it this way, maybe try this out, and you kind of just figure it out together.
Yeah.
Because it's always easier to go down a path with someone there that's helping you and guiding you rather than doing it alone. Yeah. I know there's people out there, like other business owners, like, oh, I do everything on my own. I do everything by myself. But props to them.
Yeah.
But hiring a coach, hiring someone is so much better. It helps out so much.
I will tell you that is a huge red flag. And
oh, really?
If you are listening to this and you are a business owner who's like, I'm going to do this alone.
Yeah.
First of all, why? Like, why do you have to do it alone?
Right.
What is it about you that makes you feel like you have to do it alone? What does the success mean to you if you were able to say, I built this from the ground up completely by myself with no help? That for me is a red flag, because I'm going to tell you to come see me for a session, because I promise you we are going to find something where you accidentally downloaded that you have to do everything by yourself, and you don't. You get burnt out.
Right.
And same thing like what you said, right? Like pickleball. I always talk about pickleball because I love pickleball.
Right.
If I play with the same players over and over and over again, I'm not going to grow. I'm going to plateau in my skill set. You know, I know where to go. There's a park down the street from me. I go there when I want to get my ass kicked because I know it's going to make me a better player.
Yep.
I'm not there to have fun. I go to this other place to have fun, right? So it's important. It's always important, especially if you're a business owner where your business is tied to your purpose and you want to help others. It is absolutely your responsibility to stay in tip-top shape of your own personal development.
Right. And that makes so much sense, because I think when someone starts making their business, they just do what they think that's it, like as much as they can do, but they don't realize there's so much more they can do with it. So talking to somebody, having a coach really kind of helps you develop that whole entire mindset around it, you know, and help getting that to that point. You bring up pickleball, and it's just like any other sport, right? The only way to get better is if you place yourself in situations that can make you better. When you hire a coach, you hire a mentor, that's putting you in a position to make you better.
Right.
So how are you supposed to get there if you don't have that guidance there? Yeah, figure it out on your own, but that might take twice as long, 3 times as long, or you may not even get there in the first place, right?
And it really does start off with a choice, you know, like if someone is like, no, I don't really want to coach, I want to do this on my own. Yes, like I'd mentioned that there might be something there where they feel like they can't get help, but there are a lot of people out there who can get very defensive when they're working with someone who's about to peel back the layers because they don't want to know what the hell is underneath there. And you know what? That's fine. Everyone's choice is their own choice, and it's not wrong. Like where people are on their journeys is not inherently wrong. But I absolutely know that if people are not going to challenge themselves to grow, they're going to see how it reflects outside of them too, not just in their business, in their personal relationships, right? In their finances, in all of these other areas in their life.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think some people are so afraid to peel back those layers, to not get into the nitty-gritty of things?
It's scary, you know, like
Fear?
Fear, I think. When I talk to people about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, especially because the media has really, you know, they show hypnotherapy or psychic work as something that's like very like dark and maybe even kind of like funny, you know. But hypnotherapy is scary for people because I always hear people say, I don't know what's going to come up. I'm scared about what's going to come up. Like, I don't want to know. 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 Well, first of all, the subconscious mind is only going to show you what you are ready to see and what you are ready to experience, right? So I really think it's the fear. And, you know, like I think a lot of people take pride in the ways in which they build something with their own 2 hands. And that could be related to upbringing, right? It could be ancestral even too. But there's the people who have a hard time asking for help, and then there are the people who think they don't need help.
Right.
The people who think they don't need help, if I'm being really candid, I don't really love working with those kind of clients. Because again, I'm not in the business of trying to convince you that you need this.
Right.
I'm in the business of helping people who are ready to help themselves.
Right. That's the same relation to even, you know, doing social media, you know, doing what we're doing. We wouldn't be doing this. I can't work with people myself that aren't ready to put in the work behind it. You might have the mindset, oh, I want to change this and all of this stuff, but you're just saying words to me until you actually take action and you do the work, because it's going to take work to get to that certain point, right? All of that stuff. You even brought up the subconscious mind, and that's something that's big, right? That's a huge factor, huge mind thing. I don't even know exactly how to word it, but I want to talk about that because that's something you talk about a lot. So can you tell us a little bit more about the subconscious mind and how it plays a part in people's lives? Yeah.
So when I talk about the subconscious mind, right, like this really changed things for me when I was in hypnotherapy school, when I realized that the subconscious mind rules 88% of our brain, right? And 12% is conscious. So when we think we have a lot more control over things, it's completely wrong.
We don't.
Yeah, because 88%, that's the cause and effect, and then the 12% is the action. So for instance, if you get triggered by your partner, because relationships, right, those are really hard for all of us because your partner is a mirror and they're seeing you at your best and your worst at all times, right? It's the performance is just not there anymore. So if you get triggered by something that your partner says, right, and you consciously are responding, that cause is based on the subconscious mind kind of looping a pattern or something that has happened in the past, right? So the subconscious mind remembers everything. And if you are spiritual like me, I believe the subconscious mind doesn't just store all memories of this lifetime. I believe it stores memories of all of our past lifetimes as well. And so the access there is really, for me, divine wisdom, because you're tapping into something that is really built there to protect you, but also just has so much information that can help you to move forward in your life. So, you know, when I was in the corporate world, I got a lot of feedback whenever I would push that, you know, emotions belong in the workplace. But I really think that they do. I think that if you are a mother, you know, or any parent, or if you are someone who's in a relationship or a caregiver and you're also an employee, all of those experiences impact the way you show up at work. You know, and it's the same thing with being a business owner, that like being able to recognize, hey, like I have something that's working for me, working in my favor. How can I leverage this infinite wisdom that I have that is holding all of my memories to help me to grow? Wow.
That's all good stuff, because I don't think anybody really knows about that. I heard of the saying, you know, the life is, 10%, 90% of what happens to you and 10% how you react to it, right? So in a way, it's the same kind of context, right?
Yeah.
And I think we don't think about this stuff. We don't realize what happened to us subconsciously. You know, earlier we talked about the story about driving, you know, your client, driving a car, and then they didn't realize why they were so afraid of driving.
Yeah.
And then you were able to use hypnotherapy, right? To kind of bring them back and like show them, hey, this is the situation that actually happened.
Yeah. And we slowed it down, you know, and then what we were able to do is that while we were in hypnosis, we brought in her angels, and her angels supported her. And while she was driving, and told her, hey, you're okay, you're safe. And literally we were able to heal the present, because now she's not afraid of driving.
Right.
And that just shows that in this work, and even in the subconscious, right? Like time is not linear. Like we can go in the past, the present, and even the future, and it's all working together in our favor, and change something that happened in the past with our thoughts and with suggestions, hypnotic suggestions, and it impacts the way we live in the present.
Wow.
Because our realities are just our perception. It's not real. Like it's not real, right? We could go to the same party, bro, and like
experience different things.
You know? So
it's like your frame of mind too, right? They say everyone has their own lens when they view the world.
Yeah.
So like same situation happens in front of us, I'll interpret it differently than you will. And that's just how life is, right? That's why some things affect others more than it affects other people.
Yeah.
So there's a reason behind that and everything too. You also brought up, there was another thing you brought up too. You talked hypnotherapy, and I want to talk a little bit about that, because you said it's very omniscient in a way, you know, psychics, mediums, all that stuff, and how the media portrays it.
Yeah.
What exactly is it? Like hypnotherapy, if I was going to go into a session with you, what is it like? Like how exactly do you do it?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a couple of things because I do energy work too. So if you came to me as a first-time client and you were interested in hypnotherapy, but you had never done it before, I'm definitely going to do like an intake or discovery call.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a little bit about like any other therapies you've tried before in the past. I'm going to ask you about your like water intake and sort of your relationship with your body. And I'm also going to tune in energetically to see how their nervous system feels. So if you came to me and you were kind of like feeling really anxious or nervous, what I might do with hypnotherapy to start is to get you to relax a little bit. I might actually even do a deeper induction to get you to a more calmer place. Usually hypnotherapy doesn't need to be something where like you're going down into, and it's not real. You're not going into a sleep, right?
Yeah.
But like, I just have to have people close their eyes.
Oh, okay.
And when you close your eyes, you already are there, right? But if someone came to me for the first time, I would assess their nervous system. There are certain techniques that I would do if I felt like they needed to be slowly introduced, where it's kind of like, okay, we're not going to do deep exploration with the subconscious, but I'm just going to show you how the subconscious mind is present. There's something that I do that's called the ideomotor response.
Okay.
And what I do is we are able to have the subconscious mind use the person's fingers to distinguish yes or no responses. And then we have it take us to a memory, and that's sort of how it starts, where it's not a lot of energy to do it.
Okay.
So a lot of it just depends, right, on like who the person is, why they're coming to see me. You know, if there's a lot of layers in their healing, let's say that they have a lot of like physical illness or disease that we're working through, I'm going to need a discovery call where I'm figuring out, okay, when did this first happen? What are the patterns that you experience? What's the medication that you're on?
Right.
You know, of course, I have to say that I'm not a medical doctor, but having that information is really helpful for me before I go into a session.
Gotcha. Okay. So basically people can learn a lot about themselves through hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
a lot. Going back to a memory, figuring out why someone's scared of driving, all of that stuff, right? Like it's so beneficial.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can be used for anything. I think people see it as like, to stop smoking, like quit smoking, for weight management.
Breaking habits. Okay.
But I love doing inner child work with my clients, and I do it through hypnosis. That for me is one of the most rewarding experiences that I have with my clients when we do inner child. But yeah, literally for anything. And I, even when we were talking earlier, right, I was like, you can change the submodalities in your mind about your relationship with something you love, like cookies or cake. And through hypnosis, we can change it so that you could stop liking it. It's just,
I don't think I'm gonna stop liking it, so that's gonna be mine forever.
Right. But if you wanted to, you can. So it just shows like, really, it's just programming.
Yeah.
Literally, it's a computer.
Your brain, your mind is like a computer.
Yeah, it is.
You need to update it every once in a while.
Exactly.
And then going into like psychic and mediumship, right? Because those are two other things that you offer, other things that you do.
Yeah.
Can you talk about each one of those things too?
Yeah. So at a baseline with all of my clients, it doesn't matter if we're doing business coaching, life coaching, my psychic senses are always the foundation. Okay. So I'm always channeling my spiritual team, and I'm always using my psychic senses to pull information. Because obviously, like as a business coach, a lot of people, when they're marketing themselves, they position themselves and say, I've worked with these people and I've done all these different things, right? For me, like I heard this really great quote in a podcast where someone said that God was their chief marketing officer.
Oh, geez.
And I love that idea, right? Yeah. Where like, so my psychic senses are always at the baseline. I mentioned to you earlier that my hearing is the strongest. So that's our clairaudience. That's the psychic sense of hearing. There's the clairvoyance, just sight. Seeing, right? Claircognizance is the feeling, right? So in my training, I've worked, my psychic mentor has been a psychic and a medium for over 45 years. And I keep my training sharp with her where I can continue tapping into those psychic senses and know, and I can distinguish when it's something I'm receiving or when it's my thoughts. Because energetically they feel different. So a lot of the training is on that. And then mediumship is a whole different ballgame because not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychics.
Okay.
Right? And mediumship is different because it's so black and white. I can't go to someone and say, I have someone in spirit here. It's your grandfather from your dad's side. And you're like, my grandfather is still alive.
Right.
Right? Like that. So that training is very specific. And honestly, I think is where I have grown the most as a person and as a coach, because that is where you are really playing with failure and with what happens and how you respond when you get a no. And how you bounce back from that and continue trusting yourself and the information that you're getting. So in my sessions, we can have a mix of it, right? Like it's always psychic at the foundation. But if we're doing hypnosis, I've had clients where their loved ones in spirit have come in to help facilitate the healing at a subconscious level.
Wow.
So it comes in through that way. But it's a whole different area.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, those are all three things. I think the services you offer are different, right? Rather than just a business coach, you're offering all of these other things that you can that people don't think about. They don't think they know until they actually, or they need until they actually experience it, right? So you kind of provide that service, because if there's things that are blocking you, going back to our original statement, right? There's blockers that are keeping you from achieving certain goals. This is how you find them. This is how you realize, okay, this is the blocker, and this can help me get over this blocker or remove this blocker from my life so I can achieve the goals that I want to achieve.
Right.
And I guess going into that was a lot. This has been a great interview. I think it's just like a lot of information already. So for you specifically, what are some things before we end the interview? What are like three things I like to bring it to odd numbers. So three things that you want people to leave with that you feel like either you can offer to them or they just should think about when they're owning their business or when they're going through life, like to make their lives better.
The first thing I would say is, at a base level, lifting the energetic vibration of the earth starts with every individual living their authentic lives and their authentic selves. So that means speaking up when you need to say something, expressing yourself, expressing your feelings, right? Having a career or job or whatever you're doing in your day-to-day, because your time is currency, that is in alignment with who you are authentically. And I think often that if people think and be like, am I actually living an authentic life? A lot of people will find that there are areas where they're not.
Yeah.
And that it's okay, right, to give yourself grace in those moments, but it is an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself. So definitely, first and foremost, no matter what you do, I don't care how you get your income, right? Like, live an authentic life.
Okay.
And work towards that. And if you don't know what that is, then figure that out. And if it's not with, through your own research or through working with a coach or anything like that, like, whatever works for you is for you, and it will work for you because it is for you. So, just being proactive in your healing and that, for sure. So that's the first thing that I'll say. The second thing I'll say is the importance of having fun. I started doing those content videos of working with miniature things and working with my inner child. And honestly, if you've never done inner child work, I highly suggest doing it. Again, that's something that you could do with me, or you could do that with other people or other therapists, but it is so rewarding doing inner child work, and you are able to really deepen the relationship and the self-love for yourself, right? While you're honoring these different younger parts of you who are trying to get your attention the entire time. So live an authentic life, have fun and play around with your inner child. Definitely have more fun. I think the world is just way too serious right now. And, understandably for good reason. There's a lot of atrocities happening right now.
Yeah.
But coming in and saying can I still have fun, and what can I gift to myself and to my inner child is really important. And then I think the last thing is that, a lot of people are moving through their lives right now, especially right now, wondering what their purpose is.
Right.
And I would say the biggest thing is take the pressure off that the purpose has to be grand. It doesn't mean you have to change your entire career and become a doctor or a fire person, and or
a
firefighter. Don't set shit on fire.
Yeah. Okay.
Not like a arson. That's not what I'm talking about. But something big where you could be on the news to say this person saved 10 people from a building.
Right.
And that is my purpose, to constantly put myself in danger to do it. There are absolutely people where that is their soul path.
Yeah.
And that is why they are here. But honestly, it could be done in the simple things. Knowing your life purpose could be that your purpose was to be a mother.
Right.
Your purpose was to be a bomb-ass barista, right?
That's a good job right there.
That is,
a good
right?
life goal, yeah.
You want to just connect with people and give those moments to people while they're getting their coffee, right? It could be really small. So I think people get stuck because they think their purpose has to be really grand. When really it could be something small that has a grand outcome.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Those are all three great things. I think that's something that a lot of people need to take into mind, because I think that's just, especially lifting the vibrations of the earth, thinking about that too, just how beneficial that is to other people, not only to yourself, but to everybody else around you. I think that's all really good stuff. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is, how can people connect with you? What would be the best way of people connecting with you?
I just came back on social media. So my IG handle is Mindsei_coaching. And then TikTok is Mindsei. And then I'm on Facebook as well. And then my website is themindsei.com.
Perfect. And if people want to talk to you, they can just either send you a DM or hit you up on your website? Yeah? Send you an email? Okay, perfect. If you have a business or you're just looking for some personal development, you guys got to hit up Einar. He'll help you out, get things going for you, and just kind of lead you down the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice interview. That was good.
That's fun.